Wednesdays with Whaley. We welcome in Doug. Hello, Doug. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, look at it this way: the underwear Olympics is starting to wind down, and
Mm-hmm.
now those 32 clubs are going to get into. I guess you don't want to call it what they used to call it, into their in-depth draft meetings and getting ready for the draft in Vegas
Yeah,
in April.
for sure. All right, let's get down to business because people have been asking this, and media reports are out there, and we got to get this. I don't want to say out of the way because I want to have a discussion about it as much as you're comfortable with. You reportedly interviewed for the Steelers general manager job. One, is that accurate? And two, if it is, how did it go, and how deep is your interest in their interest?
Well, let's say this. Yes, I did. I was blessed enough that Kevin Colbert called me and asked me and said, "Would you be interested in coming and interview for the general manager job?" And I said, "Do fat babies fart?" No, I didn't say that, but absolutely. I mean, it's a true honor just to be considered. I know I was one of I think 16 candidates, but to be able to sit down, I sat down with Art and Kevin, and to be able to just talk philosophies and ball and what I think I could bring to the position is, like I said, a true honor, a true blessing. They are going to, and I'm going to respect the process and not get too deep into it,
Mm-hmm.
but they are going to now concentrate on the draft and what they're going to do there, and then pick the next phase up after the draft. So
Did you get a feeling in your conversation with them that because you have history with them, that perhaps, I don't want to say you felt like you had a leg up, but that the conversation you may have had with them was different in tone because they didn't have to really necessarily get to know you. You know what I mean? You know Kevin well.
right, I would say yes and no. You still want to go into any interview like that, and when that door shuts, you throw on that professional mode.
Mm-hmm.
You throw on that, hey, listen, I know we have a personal relationship because we've known each other for years, but when I'm coming in here, I'm coming in here as a candidate for one of the most prestigious jobs in sports. So you don't want to get in that kind of relaxed mode. So they think you're taking maybe the relationship for granted. So you want to make sure you do not do that. But with that said, they also, you can talk about knowing the foundation and what being a Steeler is all about. So that gives me, I wouldn't say a leg up, but at least they know what they're going to expect and what is to be expected once you don that Steeler emblem on.
It's Wednesdays with Whaley. All our guests on the fan hotline. Doug's in here, though. They're brought to you by Nemacolin. Around every corner, Nemacolin creates real life magic for guests. After being in there, and again, you want to respect the process and not give too much away. With Kevin exiting, and whoever the GM could be, you could be anybody that they hire, is the trajectory of the Pittsburgh Steelers one in which people who are Steeler fans should be comfortable in right now, or is there an atmosphere of wow, like we've got to figure out what the heck we're doing over here? Explain to me what you felt as if the air was like there.
The trajectory is still, we are going to do whatever it takes to compete for championships. Not rebuild, not reload. It's whatever it takes. They are committed. And I don't think that's ever changed. And like I've said before, this is going to be a very transitional stage for the Steeler organization for two reasons. One, obviously Ben's gone. So that the identity of the Steelers has been Ben for 18 years, especially the last 10 years. Now you have to transition to another identity, but the identity and the basis of that identity is to compete for championships. So I've said this from the beginning. This is a great time for Art Rooney, and he's got to make a decision to the, find their next general manager, and he's putting his mark on this organization.
It's been stated publicly before, and I've never heard Kevin push back on the notion that he wants to do all he can to leave the job in the best possible position for the next person, whoever it may be. That being said, I would think he's probably reticent to deal future draft picks on draft day, draft weekend, because he may feel like I'm shortchanging whoever the next person is going to be and whatever draft resources and capital they have. That being said, does not accelerating this search to get it done before the draft or get it closer to the finish line before the draft, does it make it more difficult for Kevin to operate on draft day itself or draft weekend itself, because he may be more hesitant to deal picks and things that he may view as, yeah, they're resources, they're assets of the organization, the team, but that they'll also be under the charge of a new GM when that person takes over?
I want to qualify this answer by saying this is my perception of what Kevin's going to do.
Okay.
We did not talk about any of this in the draft, so this is not inside information or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, in years past, most of the time when new general managers came on, it was after the draft. Now, with that said, knowing what the Steelers are about, and most importantly, what Kevin is all about, he is going to do whatever he thinks will be best for the Steelers now and going into the future. And that's the way he's always operated. And knowing him as a person, that's what he's all about. It's not about Kevin Colbert. It's not about his accolades or what he's doing. It's about the Steelers and putting them in best position to compete for championships. So I don't think that's going to be something that is going to be a detriment. But like you said, in my opinion, if I'm Kevin, I'm looking at it as I'm going to be more, like you said, apprehensive to give away draft picks and go and get it unless they truly believe as an organization in a player, that player, even though we're giving up assets, will be the best for us, putting us in a position to compete for a championship.
Do you think all 16 people were given the kind of the exact same interview?
I think I would say this, being a person that has interviewed people
right, because
before
you
and
have a
head coaches,
very interesting perspective on this.
Yeah, so what you do, you have a list of questions, and you start with those questions, but you may deviate depending on the answers that you get and go down a little rabbit hole here, a rabbit hole there. But there's overarching questions that you want to get to, and it's more topics and philosophy, saying, I want to know what they think about this or how they're going to handle this. But you don't have to be so regimented and say, well, question A is this, question B is this, and then that's when you're not really trying to get in and find out.
I guess kind of what I'm getting at is you don't think somebody got a whole day with everybody and somebody got an hour and a half.
No. I think especially when you have multiple rounds, you kind of have that box and saying, okay, here are some defined areas we want to talk about and hit those. And then out of those, we say everybody's apples to apples. Here's the ones that we liked that picked those guys from there.
Did you hit them up with a hotel even though you didn't have to get one?
No, but that's a good question. I should charge them for a little gas
mileage.
Yeah, especially with gas prices
Cookie
now.
would have, yes.
Yeah. So how much of it did you get a feeling, again, and maybe not just speaking to your conversations with them over the weekend, but just your conversations interviewing other people in general and being part of interviews in general over the course of your career. How much of it is a personality test, do you think, to see, okay, will this person mesh with, for example, if the next round of interviews is going to include the head coach, Mike Tomlin in this case?
So when I got let go, I did a lot of just research on successful organizations in sports. And I actually met with Howie Roseman, and we were talking, and he said when he had that time when Chip Kelly came in and he got moved to the front office, he went to talk to San Antonio Spurs and Greg Popovich and their general manager, R.C. Buford. And he asked him, he said, when you guys got together, what was your plan? And they said, our plan was to get smart people that we love to be around. We'll figure out the rest. So I say that because in sports, and especially professional sports, you spend so much time with people. You have to have people that you like to be around, that you fit with, and that you can have hard conversations with and not be defensive and not think that this guy's coming after me or pointing the finger at me. So, yes, that's a long way to answer your question, that there's got to be some chemistry there.
Yeah.
Because you're going to spend more time with them than you are with your family a lot of times. And we've talked about the sacrifices that families make for professional athletes, but also people that work, coaches and front office people. So, long way, like I said, long-winded answer. You have to have some chemistry.
Before we get to a break, didn't Howie Roseman, didn't he famously in like 10th grade send a letter to every NFL team and say, I want to work in your front office someday. How do I go about doing that? Did you know that story?
I did not know that story. I'll have
I think it's Howie Roseman. Well, he went to Florida in like Fordham
Yes.
Law or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Is that
Yep.
the guy? Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think he famously wrote a letter and changed it for every team. So it wasn't like a form letter.
Okay.
That said, I want to work for this team. I admire this person in the
Yeah.
front office and whatever, and I've studied your team.
Yeah.
To every NFL team,
Yeah.
it said, what can I do? And heard back from just about all, like a lot of them.
So all
And then-
all those young people that want to work for an organization, be it basketball, football, whatever, there's a way to do it.
Go
Yes.
after it.
Determination.
Yep.
If you want to work in radio, write a letter here, care of Ronald Cook. Send it here, and he'll
Not Joe
field those.
Starkey?
Yeah, any of them, just not us.
Starkey
No.
has to wipe him down with hand sanitizer before he touches him.
Oh, more Wednesdays with Doug. That was fascinating first segment. I mean, absolutely.
And thank you for being as forthcoming as you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could have said no comment, and we would have understood. So thank you very much.